Good evening. It is 7 o'clock on Thursday, October 12th. It is time for our regularly scheduled Tallmadge City Council meeting. So I'll call the meeting to order, and we will start with the prayer and the pledge. And this evening we have Father Mike from Our Lady of Victory to lead us in the prayer. Please stand.
Almighty God, in the beginning, from the chaos of the cosmos and absolute nothingness, you created the heavens and the earth and all that dwells below the heavens, crowning your creation with man and woman fashioned in your image and likeness, and all that you created was good. With man and woman, you gifted them further, giving them and us dominion over all creation, calling us to be good and just stewards of all you have fashioned. As we come together this night, charged with caring for many entrusted to our care, may we exercise responsible stewardship of so great a call. Give us a spirit of openness so that we might listen to one another, work to bridge whatever may divide us, place the good of the people entrusted to our care as the focus and priority of our civil deliberations. May this body of leaders be for the citizens of this city a model and example of care and concern, collaboration and mutual respect. Hear us as you call on us, along with the leaders of our state, nation, world, and all humankind, so that together we may bring an end to the violence and war that so plagues humanity and uphold the dignity and respect afforded all human persons. For you are God, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father Mike. Please remain standing. And this evening we have Xander Pryor, 5th grade student at Tallmadge Elementary, to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Xander. Item number 3, roll call. Mrs. Burton, please call the roll.
Becky Allman,
Mrs. Allman is on vacation.
Jonathan Bolus,
Here.
Adam Bozick,
Here.
Mary Gutman,
Mrs. Gutman is on vacation.
Carol Kilway,
Here.
Dennis Lowry,
Here.
Craig Ciesick,
He's under the weather this evening. So we have 4 members present this evening. Item 4, we have 2 sets of minutes to correct. The first set are the revised minutes of September 14th, 2023. Can I have a motion, please?
Move to adopt.
Mr. Bolus, second.
Second.
Mr. Bozick, any discussion on the revision? Hearing none, Mrs. Burton, please call the roll.
Adam Bozick,
Yes.
Carol Kilway,
Yes.
Dennis Lowry,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus,
Yes.
Minutes are adopted 4-0. Second set of minutes are from our last meeting of 9/28. Can I have a motion, please?
Move to adopt?
Mrs. Kilway,
Second.
Mr. Bozick, second. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, Mrs. Burton, please call the roll.
Carol Kilway,
Yes.
Dennis Lowry,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus,
Yes.
Adam Bozick,
Yes.
Minutes are adopted 4-0. Item 5, financial reports. Fire and EMS fund transfer in the amount of $175,000. Street maintenance and repair fund transfer in the amount of $210,065. Bond retirement in the amount of $85,000. Police pension in the amount of $75,000 from the general fund, and bond retirement in the amount of $175,000 from the Safety Services Income Tax Fund to council on 9/27/23. Appropriation report, fund report, and revenue report for the period ending 9/30/23 to council on 10/3/23. September financial reports to council on 10/3/23. Tallmadge Recreation Center profit and loss report for the period ending 9/30/23 to council on 10/3/23. Income tax comparisons for the period ending 9/30/23 to council on 10/3/23. Consolidated investment portfolio for the period ending 9/30/23 to council on 10/3/23. Income tax by source report for the month of September to council on 10/3/23. And the revenue comparisons for major funds for the period ending 9/30/23 to council on 10/3/23. Can I have a motion, please, to accept these reports as provided to us?
Mr. Lowry?
Mrs.
I
Kilway?
move to accept the financial reports as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bolus. Any discussion on these reports? Hearing none, Mrs. Burton?
Dennis Lowry.
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus.
Yes.
Adam Bozick.
Yes.
Carol Kilway.
Yes.
Financial reports have been accepted by a vote of 4-0. It is now 7:06. Item 6, we have a public hearing this evening. I will open the public hearing and then turn it over to you, Mr. Bolus. It is 7:06. Public hearing is now open on ordinance 2023-78.
Good evening. We call the Personnel Committee to order. Tonight, we have public hearing for third readings of ordinance as resolution, ordinance 2023-78 amended, tract amended, establishing the number of non-collective bargaining employees by department and position pursuant to RC 731.08, and providing for immediate enactment. At this time, is there anyone present that would like to speak for ordinance 2023-78? Is there anyone here who would like to speak against ordinance 2023-78? I'll ask again, is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of ordinance 2023-78? Is there anyone present who would like to speak against ordinance 2023-78? All right, third and final time, I'll ask, is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of ordinance 2023-78? And lastly, is there anybody here who would like to speak against ordinance 2023-78? All right. It's 7:07 p.m. We have, again, ordinance 2023-78 amended at third readings. No one's come forward at the public hearing.
We'll close the public hearing at 7:08 and we'll stay in committee, Mr. Bolus.
All right, public hearing is closed at 7:08 p.m. And now we're skipping to
You'll
personal.
go ahead and deal with this ordinance.
All right. So tonight we have at Personnel Committee, third reading, ordinance 2023-78 at third reading. Again, tract amended, establishing the number of non-collective bargaining employees by department pursuant to RC 731.08 and providing for immediate enactment. Is there any discussion before council or administration regarding this ordinance at third reading tonight? All right, could I get a motion?
Move to adopt ordinance 2023-78.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 2023-78 amended, tract amended. Clerk, call the roll. If there's no further discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
just for clarification, this ordinance, we basically revise sometimes several times a year, once a year, depending on.
So this ordinance, this time is being driven because of the change in the bands primarily. But yes, often, typically it will come at the same time as the budget. There'll be an amendment, and so likely this year there will probably be something else too. That would be more driven as to a new position or a change of positions, where this is laying out the bands in a different manner.
Okay,
primarily.
just wanted to clarify and make sure, knowing that we'll likely have we will have a change going into next year. I just know that there's probably personnel changes that'll come up through there, so, but, okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bozick. Any further discussion or questions before committee? All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Jonathan Bolus.
Yes.
Adam Bozick,
Yes.
Carol Kilway,
Yes.
Dennis Lowry.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 2023-78 amended, tract amended, passes by a vote of 4-0. And moving on into Personnel Committee.
Excuse me, Mr. Bowles. Can we do that, Mrs. Raber, without,
Typically, you would close your committee and
we'll
then come
close
back
committee
to
and
it.
open it back up?
I can do that. All right. At this time, we'll close Personnel Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowles. Item 7, community input. This evening, we have 2 presentations. The first one is from Lisa Kamlowski with, she's superintendent of the Summit County Board of the Developmentally Disabled. We'll be discussing their levy issue 17 on the November ballot. Hi, please
Hi.
introduce yourself. And
Pardon me. Hi, good evening. My name is Lisa Kamlowski. I am here tonight in my capacity as a volunteer for Support Summit DD Issue 17. It is a replacement levy on the ballot November 7th. This levy replaces the agency's current 4.5 mils operating levy that was originally approved by the voters in 2005. If passed, it will cost homeowners approximately $158 annually per $100,000 of appraised value. That is $3.58 more per month than homeowners are currently paying for this levy. If passed, the funds will continue to support critical services without wait lists for items like personal care assistance, residential support, early intervention services, therapies, employment support, and so many more things for over 5,000 children and adults who live with disabilities in our community. Currently, 232 individuals supported by Summit DD are living in the city of Tallmadge. So revenue from this levy makes up 80% of the agency's operating budget. And the agency has operated, again, for 17 years on that 2005 revenue while serving an additional 30% more people. And the demand for service is expected to continue to grow. By the end of the levy cycle, we anticipate serving over 5,600 individuals. One last thing I want to point out, it's important to note that passing the ballot issued this November ensures that the amount collected is based on the homeowner's current property valuation, and it will lock that cost in through the year 2030. Any projected property tax increases will not impact the amount that residents pay. In my day job, I am the superintendent for the Summit County Board of Developmental Disabilities. I know and appreciate the support that the city of Tallmadge has given our organization over the years. I can't thank you enough for that support. And I would ask again tonight for your support and help in educating the community on the importance of Issue 17 and really what that means for our neighbors who receive support that is funded by the levy. Thank you for your time.
thank you. Mrs. Kilway.
Yes, I just had a quick question. I couldn't write fast enough. Could you tell me how much more per $100,000 of value it's going to raise the taxes? I thought you said $3 and something.
So the cost to homeowners is going to be an additional $3.58 per month. I think it's $43 a year more
per month?
than they're
Okay.
paying now.
And that's
Correct.
per $100,000
Correct.
valuation? Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you for coming in, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, we have Challenger Field Campaign Committee. Attendees, Little League President Andrew Mort, Challenger President, League Director Greg Mahalik. I don't see Tiffany, and Amina Hall, a volunteer. And who would like to address council? Oh, my goodness.
I will.
I should be able to see you up there,
Yeah.
right? We
Yeah.
have Greg Mahalik.
Yeah, so my wife can't make it tonight. She's a little under the weather. Andrew Mort, president of Tallmadge Little League, strong supporter of Challenger, and his daughter is also a buddy in our Challenger division. And Amina Hall, who has 2 kids playing in Little League, and she's also a longtime philanthropist and fundraisers, going to help us with our project also. So I have a prepared statement to read, so. We are here tonight to ask for the support from the council and the city of Tallmadge for a much-needed and wanted community-based project. This project's main goal is to renovate and update the Tallmadge Challenger baseball field located behind the old Weaver building. This project holds the promise of creating a more inclusive, equitable, and accessible space for the young athletes who participate in the Little League Challenger division and adaptive baseball programs for individuals with physical and intellectual challenges. The Little League Challenger Division has been a beacon of hope and opportunity for countless individuals since its inception in 1989 and here in the city of Tallmadge for the past 28 years. It embodies the very essence of inclusivity and the belief that every child, regardless of their abilities, deserves the chance to experience the joy and camaraderie of sports. As the program has grown over the years, so too has our commitment to providing an environment where every player can thrive. Tiffany and I took over running Tallmadge Challenger Baseball 7 years ago. At that time, we were down to 14 players. Last year, we had 108 players representing 21 local communities and 4 counties playing in Tallmadge. We were able to field 10 teams playing a 15-game schedule each. Tallmadge is currently recognized as one of the top 3 Challenger programs in the state. This current project represents a crucial step in ensuring that commitment is fully realized. By renovating and updating the Tallmadge Challenger baseball field to make it more handicap and developmental disability accessible, we are removing barriers that have hindered our Challenger baseball players from enjoying the sport to its fullest. The improvements to the field will not only benefit the Challenger players, but also the entire community. It sends a powerful message of inclusivity, demonstrating that we value and embrace the diversity of abilities within our city. It's a testament to the collective dedication to ensuring that every child, regardless of their physical or intellectual challenges, has an equal opportunity to participate in a beloved American pastime. This project also underscores the importance of equity in recreational opportunities. For far too long, children with disabilities have faced unequal access to sports facilities, denying them the chance to experience the physical and emotional benefits that sports provide. The renovated Tallmadge Challenger baseball field will level the playing field, figuratively and literally, allowing our Challenger players to compete in a safe and supportive environment. The impact of this project extends beyond the physical upgrades to the field. It sends a powerful message to our community, showing that we are committed to creating a city where everyone is welcome and valued. It reaffirms our belief in the potential of every child and our dedication to providing them with the tools and opportunities they need to succeed. Let me review the project for you. Phase 1, complete infield and outfield turf fields, sports lighting system, new fencing. Estimated cost, $1,075,000. Phase 2, restroom improvements, dugout improvements, bleachers and seating area, add concessions, scoreboard, public address system, general ADA site improvements. Estimated cost $365,000. Phase 3, existing lot, drive aggregate improvements, pave existing lot, add ADA paved parking. Estimated cost $400,000. And Phase 4, new ADA wheelchair accessible playground. Estimated cost $150,000. These costs do include design, build fees, and soft costs of $415,000. Hopefully, we can reduce that cost by using local companies. Total project cost $1,990,000. Our goal is for our committee to raise this money through grants and donations. Our commitment is to communicate and work with the city administration on every step of this project. In conclusion, we ask you to give us your blessing and support to move forward and make this much-needed opportunity a reality for our youth and our city. This project is just not about improving a sports facility. It's about improving the lives of young athletes who will benefit from it and fostering a culture of inclusivity and equity within our city. I urge you to support this initiative, knowing that your support will have a lasting and profound impact on the Challenger baseball players, their families, Tallmadge Little League, and our committee. At this time, I also want to let you know, we have just started this process. We are just forming our committee now. We have done nothing more than actually looked at some plans that some people had drawn up for us and some estimated costs. We're just looking for your improvement. We're not asking for the city to fund it. Our goal is to fund it internally through grants and private donations.
Thank you. Any questions at this point?
Refresh my memory on the playground equipment. Were we able to salvage anything from prior to the demolition?
Yes, we salvaged all the ADA playground equipment that was behind the building.
Okay, and we made some modifications to the parking lot over there, right? I
Yes.
believe, but that was more for the soccer fields?
No, it
Or-
was for the Challenger field. We installed several handicap parking signs right in
Okay.
front of the ball field.
So what I would say, Greg, because we all know each other,
Yep.
is to make sure that Mr. Mort, as the president of Little League, continue to meet with Mr. Rohr and Mrs. Simons and the mayor, of course, and just take this one step at a time.
Okay? Thank you.
Anything else? Ms. Kilway?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for what you do for the Challenger Baseball organization. It's amazing, everything that you've done. I really, really appreciate it. And any way that, we can help support you, we'll try our best. So thank you for putting in this type of a commitment into our community as well. It's amazing. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to item 8, agenda additions. We have none. Item 9, reports of the administrative officers. We will start with Mrs. Stritch. I think she has like 5 different reports.
I'll try and keep it brief. We were honored to be able to swear in yesterday a new police officer, Mr. Jeremy Lampley. He actually graduated from Tallmadge High School, so this is a dream of his to be able to come back to where he grew up and be able to become a police officer and join our force. He starts, his start date will actually be Monday, and so when you see him around, please give him a warm welcome. I'd like to report that the dispatch center went live on this Tuesday, and from what I understand, it was functioning flawlessly. Akron and Summit County went live on Tuesday, and then this coming Tuesday, the other municipalities in the district, which I believe is Tallmadge, Stowe, and Mogador, they go live this Tuesday, so it's a process. So I think that's fantastic. I was not involved with that. The mayor, a lot of elected officials from this city, in addition to other cities, participated. It took a long time, and I think it's fantastic to see these multi-jurisdictional arrangements and to benefit so many people, so I think it's great. We are in the process of hiring some technician ones for the utility department. Excuse me. The budget is getting finalized. It still gets tweaked. We're ready to present it to council on October 25th, I believe, is the first reading. And also, I think we did set a work session for November 1st. So just make sure you have that on your calendar. I'll be putting together a booklet for council members and the administration to kind of summarize items, show you the capital items, and as always, if you ever have any questions or you want to sit down and talk about it, please come in and see me or give me a call. Also, I would like to respectfully request the adoption at third reading, and so would the mayor. This evening, the following ordinances: Ordinance 77. You already passed Ordinance 78, so thank you. Ordinance 79 and Ordinance 80, all of which are at third reading. Thank you very much. End of report.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Stritch and her report, and also on behalf of the mayor who's on vacation? Thank you. We'll go to Mr. Rohr.
Good evening. For the next meeting, I have some applications. I'm requesting some legislation to be passed at first reading for some AMATS funding application opportunities. One is the Surface Transportation Block Group, the STBG funding, and that's for East Avenue Phase 1. That'll have no conflicts with other funding opportunities for that project, and that project is slated to be started in 2026 or 2027. So that's the widening of East Avenue. The second application is another STBG resurfacing from South Monroe. So that would be from East Avenue to the going south towards the Akron Corp line. Another STBG resurfacing funding program is for Eastwood resurfacing. So that's from South Monroe to the Brimfield Township line. That needs done. The fourth one is a congestive reduction program, CRP funding program, and that is for engineering for a proposed roundabout at Northeast Avenue in Middlebury as you head into Kent. We had a traffic study done there. There is a need for a traffic intersection improvement, whether it's a roundabout or a traffic signal. We're leaning towards a roundabout at this time. And this, we actually have requested this in the budget as well. So the engineering's about $200,000. So if we can get this through the AMATS funding, that'd even be better instead of using our budget. So next meeting, I'm going to ask for legislation to be passed at first reading. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. Second thing, next council, I'm going to be requesting legislation be passed at first reading as well. This is for the chiller replacement at the rec center. We're using the Sourcewell Cooperative State Purchasing Program, so it's already kind of been bid. That's what that is. Cost of it's $125,000. That was not budgeted. We'll probably have to ask for reappropriation for that. The key to this, though, is the price goes up November 1st. So we need to get it done before the next meeting. It's 18 to 20 weeks for the delivery of the chiller. The chiller probably needs to start operating in March. April would be the latest. So we kind of need to, we can't sit on this. We really need to get this rolling. So next meeting, I'll be asking for a passage of this legislation. The demo at 89 East Towel Road, they started the 25th of September, and they've been moving along, and right now, all that remains is the cafeteria, the D wing, and the administration portion, which is that center section. They've done pretty good work so far, pretty impressed with them. Here's a view. The view on the left is from the back. This center shaft is the elevator, so those folks that have been in there know where it's at. And this right view is from the front, and this section here is the cafeteria, to give you an idea of what that building's going. So demo's moving along pretty good. Leaf season, starting, we might adjust this, we might bump it a week forward. Leaves are falling, however, the odd thing is they kind of slowed down. A week ago, they looked like they were dropping pretty quick. This week, they kind of slowed down, but that's normal. We could bump this up a week, and we'll let everybody know. We'll just adjust this calendar. It's not going to affect anything. People are already putting leaves out. I got to be quite honest. It'd be great if some people bag some leaves. I mean, I'm seeing piles no bigger than a waste paper basket, and they're putting it out in the street. So it'd be great if they bagged it and helped us out a little bit. But leaf program. We were approached by Serpentini to do some electrical charging stations for the EV vehicles. They have 5 of the electrical stations that they're giving. It's about a $40,000 investment that they're wanting to give the city. We went around, looked at some of these locations. You can see the 5 locations. City Hall here, the open parking lot that gets you where you park at for the weddings at the Circle. This is off Erie, over by the old Henry Bierce. Community Drive is where the community center and the library is at, then the rec center. Just to look at this, so here's the EV stations here in this parking lot, here's the circle. You have to design these for handicap, so they're big, open spaces. They don't have to be handicap parking, but you gotta anticipate handicap vehicles needing the access, so they need an aisle row. They eat up about 3 spaces, so technically it's 2 spaces, but they're gonna eat up a third one for the aisle. Here's the one at City Hall, right behind the dumpsters right here. The one here at the library and the community center, right up front. Here's the one on Erie Road. Here's the Old Henry Beers Classic Carpet Flooring Store. Kind of gives you an idea. And then here's the one at the rec. The reason why this one's on this side of the rec building is that's where the electric's at. So that would be the easiest run. So here's what I gotta ask council if they're up for it. To do all 5 of these stations, I need an extra $60,000. Is this something that we wanna invest in? Each one of these is a different price. The city hall's the cheapest because they're run for electric. I think it'd be great to have a few of these. The problem is when I asked Serpentini for some numbers on how many EV vehicles are even out there that would use these, they couldn't give me. They did say that there's 5 new Chevy, the Blazers coming back out, the Silverado, and I guess by next year, there's 40 new EV vehicles gonna be out in the lots at the dealerships. So they're asking us to do an investment of $60,000. They're giving us $40,000 for these chargers. I'm asking you guys, what do you think? Thoughts? Is this something that I want to go ask Molly and Dave to, I'm looking for a little bit of guidance on this.
So Mike, more initially, more than the money, I was thinking about the locations. So, I know how many cars are in the rec center every morning, and I know the number of cars that we get at the community center. So I just think that instead of having 5 single locations, maybe I would have preferred to double up at the rec and the community center.
We could look at that.
So, but I'm sorry, Greg, you cannot. So, apologize.
Mr. Chair, or Mr. President, a question for Mike Rohr. I'm not familiar with the adapters that fit into the cars, but are they standardized? They're all the same? It doesn't matter what kind of car it is?
It'll be universal.
It'll be completely universal?
Yep.
Okay, will there be advertising saying, this charging station brought to you from Serpentini? I mean,
City of Tallmadge, right?
okay.
Yep, could be a placard there. I guess the way this works is when you buy these cars now, there's a module in there that tells you where the stations are at. So that's how you know where they're at. It's a beacon. It tells you the closest EV charging station, so.
Mrs. Kewett.
Okay, so in my naivety with electric cars and how this all works, in my opinion, someone has to pay for the electric, so is there gonna be is there something there at these stations where you put a credit card in and you're getting charged for the electric?
Yes, so.
Okay, and so
the-
that's gonna be an income source for the city then?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep, and it appears that it would be decent, but there again, how many cars are actually going to use it? So
Right.
it could be not a great revenue source for a few years, but
Right.
as more cars get out there, it would become a decent revenue source.
right, so we do have an opportunity to recoup our $60,000
They said within 10 years you'd recoup it.
in 10 years. Okay.
Because there again,
They don't know
the
the number of
vehicles aren't
vehicles,
quite
right.
there yet. But
Right.
they're pushing them out though. They said 40 new types are gonna be out there next year.
Right, okay,
And I think, there again, it's a great opportunity for the city to be in front of this.
yes,
I mean, to say it's not gonna happen is foolish because you see them in other cities. I think it's worthwhile. I just don't know if it's $60,000 worthwhile. Yeah, we don't.
Another comment about that. I know EV isn't exactly new, it's been around for a while, but There are some other technologies that I know are coming out that do not use an electric source for charging. So I think that there's some other there's basically, we may be putting an investment out there in something that may be gone or not widely used within 10 years. So I think that's something we need to consider when looking at that.
And the other thing too is, we don't have to do 5.
Right.
I mean, we could do 2 and see how they go. I mean, it's not, Serpentine needs an answer from us. Unfortunately, they approached us in January or February about this. I've been sitting on it, just there again, hasn't been on the front burner. I think it is important, but just hasn't been on the front burner for me, so. I do owe them an answer. Are we in, are we not in? Kind of looking at you guys,
How much time do we have?
before the end of the year.
Okay, so we could mull this over in between now and our next meeting.
Correct.
Everyone good with that?
Yeah. I'm
Mrs.
good.
Kilway, you have any?
Yeah, no, I was just, just to piggyback off what Mr. Bosick said, as these electric cars have come out, I have noticed, they're now concentrating more on the hybrids, where you don't have to have the electric start. It's like a gas start, but then kicks onto your electric, and they're pushing those out a little bit more right now, too. So, I would also agree to maybe just do 2 of them instead of all of them, and start out and see how that would work.
Yeah, I think that would suffice. I
Okay.
think Serpentine just has an opportunity to get these
Right.
charging stations and want to know if we're on board with them.
Okay.
All
Okay,
right, anything else in your report?
Nothing.
Any other questions for Mr. Rohr? Thank you for the way you handled West Avenue.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Perfect.
I appreciate that. That went real well last night, so thanks.
Okay, Mrs. Gilbride is absent this evening. Mrs. Raber, do you have anything?
Yes, before we meet again on October 25th, we will be kicking off Red Ribbon Week. We have done this now for a few years, but just to refresh everyone's memory, this is a national campaign. It encourages healthy choices and drug-free choices. I'm working in coordination with with representatives from the school district. They do recognize this week in the schools, and so we have, for the last few years, also tried to get more awareness around it by having the city participate. So we will be pushing out information next week to encourage everyone on October 23rd, Monday, October 23rd, to wear red. Just as a reminder, we're encouraging everyone to post those pictures on Facebook of your family, of your group, of your business. We will be also ending that week with our semi-annual drug take-back day, which is October 28th. That's at the police department between 10 and 2. It's a very convenient way for people to get rid of any unwanted or unused prescription medication. They don't even have to get out of the car. It's a great time to just clean out that drug cabinet you may have so that we can safely dispose of those medications. So if there's any questions, feel free to let me know, but we're excited for as much participation as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Raber? All right, let's get to work. Item 10, we'll go to Planning and Zoning. Mrs. Kilway.
Thank you, Mr. Lowry. I will open Planning and Zoning Committee. There are 4 of us here this evening. We have at second reading ordinance 2023-82, Exhibit A and Tract Exhibit A, amending and supplementing Section 1104.05D, Commercial Uses Table, and Section 1104.07E8, Use Regulations, Automotive Car Wash of the Tallmadge Codified Ordinances. Planning and Zoning, Mrs. Hussing had put together a nice presentation and had that at the Planning and Zoning meeting. Planning and Zoning reviewed all of their changes and have made a recommendation to us to adopt that. So first, we will need to amend it to accept their recommendations, correct?
No, in this particular one, there was no changes, so there's no amendment to
Okay,
this
so
one.
we don't even need to amend it, just
There's no
just
amendment.
receiving the recommendations, so, okay.
Yeah, you just got the report of their recommendation, and This would just be at second reading tonight. I would just ask you to note, that, or I can just put on the record now, that there is a public hearing on October 25th at 7:01 PM.
Okay. Yep. And any questions from committees?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I did have some questions for Ms. Helene, or Ms. Hussing, about the presentation that they had sent out. And one of the questions that I just wanted some clarification on, I know it says in here on slide, I think it's 14, page 11 in the document, but it talks about removing car wash facilities located within 200 feet of a residential district, but then down at the bottom, it talks about changing it to at a 500 foot location of car wash facilities. So I guess I'm just looking for clarification as to, is that getting removed completely, or are we changing it to the 500 feet?
It'll be changed to 500 feet. I just happened to flip it open in here, 110407E8, under purpose and intent, and it is item XI, properties with car wash facilities as the primary use must be located at least 500 feet from any property with a residential use, public park or trails, private or public school, place of worship, or any business offering outdoor consumer services such as, but not limited to, outdoor dining establishments. And this is determined by a straight line from one property line to the other property line. So that is changing it from within 200 feet to at least 500 feet. And
Okay.
that's all because of the noise that these,
So
that the car
my,
washes emit.
my question with that then, and I don't know what type of software they have in the zoning department, but is there a way to look at the current zoning districts that would be eligible to put a car wash in and determine just 500 feet from those existing locations, like a school, a park, a trail, whatever the other ones that were mentioned, is there actually any space eligible for a car wash to go in then? Or has it been basically, by moving it to 500 feet, we've limited it now to basically say there is no more space because we're all within either a church, a school, a park?
I believe that the areas that are designated, and there's a map within the presentation, that there's still areas that would be within, that would fall within those districts that would be applicable, so.
Do we have the capability of actually kind of running that scenario in us?
I don't know if we do. I don't know. I don't know that you can, I don't know if we do.
Okay.
I don't
Because
know
that would be
those
my,
are, I don't think those are like selections in GIS or anything that we can make, but
Right.
I can ask.
because my concern would be, you know, I don't want to limit, I have no problem with a car wash popping up somewhere, even if it meets the 200 feet and they're meeting the sound noise ordinance, just so long as they're meeting those, I don't think that it's a problem being within 200 feet. We already have some other issues or some other requirements in the zoning code that are meant to help buffer that noise, either through, you know, fencing, putting in sound deadening walls, or enclosing the vacuum systems. So I think that there's some things that are already in the code that we could use to correct this issue. And I know when I had asked the question to Ms. Hussing, this most recent complaints that we received, they weren't necessarily geared towards the vacuum systems. They were more geared towards the loudspeakers on the outside of the building. Yes, they did receive some about the vacuum systems, but it was more so about the loudspeakers. So we've gone through this process of a 6-month moratorium, lots of conversation, all because they were playing music on the outside of their building. So to me, we've gone through a lot of steps that, sure, we can always make this better for future use, but this probably could have been handled a lot differently and a lot more expeditiously had we just had a conversation with that property owner and said, can you turn your speakers down?
We did have those conversations, just so you know.
Okay, so, and I independently went out and did my own decibel readings using the same exact software that Mrs. Hussing had recommended that they had used. And I was getting decibel readings from across the street that were well below the decibel readings that we were putting in as recommendations. So, and I've done it at several different car washes throughout the city, and they've all been well under that decibel level. So I guess my issue is, are we making a big issue out of something that really isn't an issue? And in turn, we're going to create a very limited area for future businesses to open up a car wash, even if it's an accessory, like if it's a gas station with a car wash, something like that, that would make sense for going in, especially on West Avenue, where, you know, there's a lot of opportunity there still. So I guess my issue with this is there's some things that I like about this, but I think we need to take a deeper look at whether or not that really restricts the businesses that can open if we bump that to 500 feet.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, so since this is at second reading and there appears to be more discussion that we need to have on this, we'll just give it another reading. Anything else to come in front of planning and zoning at this time? Hearing none, I will close committee.
Thank you, Ms. Kilway. Finance, Mr. Bolus.
Yes, thank you. I call the Finance Committee to order. This evening, we have at second readings, ordinance 2023-83, authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement to purchase 892 Northwest Avenue parcels 60006239 and 6753251 from the Summit County Land Reutilization Corporation and providing for immediate enactment. I know that we had a discussion on this last meeting. I guess at this time, I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Bolus?
Yes.
Real quick, just maybe a point of order, and I'm not sure if it's in the actual ordinance or not, but when I was looking up this property, and where it has parcel 600, what is it, 306239, I think actually when you look it up on the GIS map, there's one too many zeros on that. And I just want to make sure that we're correct. Yeah, and
All
that,
right.
yeah, that is also in the actual ordinance too. It looks like there's 3 zeros, and when I was searching for it on the Summit County GIS, I couldn't find it with those zeros.
Yeah, it looks like it is a typo. It looks like there is,
One
in
too many
the legal
zeros?
description, it's 2 zeros.
Okay, is that
Okay.
anything that we need
So-
to?
I can,
We can make that amendment, if you want to move to amend today. And it was only at second reading, so we wouldn't want it adopted tonight anyway.
Right,
okay.
okay.
So I'm making a motion to amend the description of ordinance 2023-83 to remove 10 from parcel 6006239 to make it corrected to 6006239.
Yeah, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. With the demolition of that site, do we have plans on how that will take place? Is that covered under grant funding?
We're trying to secure a grant now for that, to demo that.
So should we take ownership of it, and we are unable to get grant funding, do we know what the cost would be to demo that site?
We're looking at about 30,000.
Okay.
And that's parking lot removal and dirt brought in to reseed it.
All right. Do we have plans to, once that is demoed, covered by grant or not, are we looking at like a beautification of that corner of some sort? Are we putting in like a welcome to Tallmadge sign with, flowers and, what's the,
Short term would just be green space, open space.
okay. So this will be carried onto the rest of our landscaping plan then through the rest of the city. So do we have an approximate cost on what that would be to maintain that corner?
To mow that initially, no, I don't.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And I can just add that I think that the idea would be that eventually we would put money in the budget for a gateway type entranceway that would make it more beautiful. The other opportunity there is that with that particular intersection, there's been talk for a long time about potential changes to the intersection, and it would provide opportunities for that in that area as well. Again, not necessarily funded by us, but by ODOT at some point in the future, so it does open that opportunity up as well in the future.
The other issue is it's just a bad spot for a business. I mean, it gets log jammed. Nobody can get in and out of that place. I mean, it's a poor location for any type of business, really.
All right. The ordinance will stay at second reading. Moving on to first readings.
Mr. Bolus, if I may, I think you had an amendment on the floor, a motion
yes.
for an amendment on the floor.
Thank you.
And
You're
thank
right.
you, Ms. Gilway, for picking up
Yes,
on that
thank you
typo.
for that. All right. Clerk, please call the roll.
Adam Bozick,
Yes.
Carol Kilway.
Yes.
Dennis Lowry.
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus.
Yes. All right. Ordinance 2023-83 is amended by a vote of 4-0. Now moving on to first readings. Ordinance 2023-84, Exhibit A, Tract Exhibit A. This is amending and supplementing Ordinance 2022-81 to amend rates, charges, and fees for all recreational facilities and providing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Bowles?
This was, yes.
So a question for Mr. Rohr. Do you anticipate Mrs. Simons coming to a meeting, make a presentation on rationale and all that, those things on this ordinance?
I could probably do that if I don't do well at it, we can ask
Oh,
her to come.
no, you can do it.
So,
All right,
yeah, this is not too difficult to explain, so
but this needs to be done before the budget?
it'd be helpful.
All right,
But it's, it doesn't.
Effective January 2024.
got it. All right,
Rushed.
okay.
Any further discussion on the ordinance 2023-84? Not, we'll give it another reading. All right, thank you. With that said, anything else to come before Finance Committee? All right, I close committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bolus, earning your money tonight. Personnel, you're back up.
All right. Call Personnel Committee to order tonight. Also at third readings, we have ordinance 2023-77, amended Exhibit A, amended Tract Exhibit A. This is amending the broadband compensation plan for the non-collective bargaining employees, amending provisions related to the compensation board, and providing for immediate enactment. At this time, I'd open it up.
Mr. Bolus, I would
Yes.
just ask, since Mrs. Stritch is with us this evening, these are three ordinances that basically all complement each other. The first one was on the bands.
Correct.
Just for those that may be live streaming, explain what this one is.
Thank you. Ordinance 77, 78, and 79 are all complementary ordinances in regards to the compensation study. The first ordinance that was adopted after the public hearing establishes the positions, the bands, primarily. This ordinance, number 77, speaks to the broadband compensation plan, defines the band, speaks to the compensation board. If you remember, we had some discussion on that and tweaked it a little. So this is part of the 3 ordinances that would be necessary to be adopted to move forward.
All right, thank you. Any discussion within committee, or should I
Well,
call? Should I call?
I would move to adopt.
Okay, I'll move to adopt ordinance 2023-77.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll open it up now.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Bozick.
thank you. The question I have regarding the bands, well, for one, can we change the name of it to not be broadband? Because when you first mentioned it, I was thinking internet and not their compensation band levels. So, but on a real note here, if we can revisit, I think the last meeting, possibly the meeting before that, I had asked about just verifying, and I know we already approved the grid one, which is where those band levels are for those particular employees. But as we're looking at this, it reminded me that I had asked about, basically, is there a assessment that was done specifically to each individual position? And I know there was, but after I had brought up the question specifically about some individuals within the Parks and Rec Department to revisit and verify if those bands were adequate or the correct band, basically, for those employees. Did we go back and revisit that?
Thank you, Mr. Bozick. I'm sorry, Bozick.
That's fine.
We did meet with the Jessica, the rec supervisor. Those were re-evaluated. I believe 1 or 2 of the positions, the bands did change on that. So those were reviewed with Clemens Nelson and with the department head. And the result is the ordinance that you saw before you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other discussion on the ordinance? All right. With that, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Carol Kilway,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus,
Yes.
Adam Bozick,
Yes,
Dennis Lowry,
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 2023-77 passes by a vote of 4-0. Moving on, we have ordinance 2023-79, implementing wage adjustments for certain non-collective bargaining employees, appropriating necessary sums, and providing for immediate enactment. Again, this is legislation that goes with the other 2. At this time, could I get a motion?
Move to adopt.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 2023-79 at 3rd reading. I'll open it up for discussion, questions, or comments.
Mr. Bowles?
Yes.
Again, for Mrs. Stritch, this is the money. And based on what happens here in a few minutes, you will put this in the budget?
So, thank you. Ordinance 2023-79 is the last piece of this plan. This actually appropriates the money. As soon as this is adopted, the finance director will be able to appropriate the money to implement this. So this will happen as soon as possible. And as you can see, the sections at the bottom appropriate the funds that are needed. So this is the last piece to get this process underway. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. If there's no further questions or comments, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Dennis Lowry,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus.
Yes.
Adam Bozick.
yes,
Carol Kilway.
Yes.
All right, ordinance 2023-79 passes by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other additional items to come before committee this evening? All right, thank you. I close committee.
Thank you, Mr. Bolus. Let's move on to safety. Mr. Bozick.
thank you, Mr. President. I will open the Safety Committee. There are 4 of us present this evening. We currently have no legislation in front of us this evening. I'll open it up to council and administration. Anything to add for this evening?
Mr. Bozick,
Yes, sir.
one, very happy about the new officer. And then number two, I noticed that the fire doors are up.
Yes. I did notice that today as well. And it looked to me, because you can see through now, it looked like the last set of doors maybe were being installed on the backside. So that's good news. And I noticed when we did the tour of the dispatch center, the mayor, because like most things, he wants to give you his personal tour, showed me one of their back rooms, and they have the same set of doors back there, but they're missing the same parts. So same issues there. But they are nice doors. I'm glad they're up. Probably took way longer than anyone ever wanted to talk about or to hear about it, but I'm glad that they are up. As far as safety goes, for if there's no other comments on the committee, I know obviously with the dispatch center opening up, I just had not that any of us probably would ever need to go there, but if somebody did have to go there, I noticed that there's gates. Is there an intercom there, I take it, then if you were to pull up, you'd be able to speak to somebody if for some reason you had a meeting there or something?
I gotta believe so. I don't know off the top, but there's gotta be a way to communicate.
Right, I would think so. So that was just, I noticed it today, actually, when I was driving by, it was,
Mr. Bozick, I
Yes.
did notice that there's cameras on the outside of the building, so maybe they also have cameras that you can see if someone's approaching, and maybe they can
okay.
communicate to you through that way, too.
I know that there's, I guess the one main reason I asked is there's some nice meeting spaces in there. Not to say that we'll have community meetings there, but if there's some reason that we would need to have a meeting there for whatever purpose, I know there's some EOC type functions that could be held there. Was just kind of thinking about it, so that's all. Anything else for the safety committee this evening? Hearing none, I will close committee.
Thank you, Mr. Bozick. Community issues, Mrs. Kilway.
Thank you. I will open Community Issues Committee. We have at third reading of ordinance and resolutions, ordinance 2023-80, which is authorizing the mayor to receive funding from the Community Development Block Grant Program, the CDBG, for our minor home repair program, and enter into all necessary agreements, appropriating funds, and providing for immediate enactment. Again, this is at third reading. This is kind of like housekeeping. We do this every year, correct? It's receiving a matching grant for $15,000.
Mrs. Kilway, I'd move
Yes.
to adopt.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 2023-80. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yes?
Question for the administration. I believe this is accurate, but there is information about this grant program available on our website, correct?
I believe there is, the minor home repair program.
Okay, and there is a whole application process and everything that goes with that?
That's correct, and if anyone has any questions, they can call the mayor's office, and they can speak to any one of us, and particularly Andrea Kidder will be happy to help anyone.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Burton, would you please call the roll?
Jonathan Bolus?
Yes.
Adam Bozick?
Yes.
Carol Kilway?
Yes.
Dennis Lowry?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2023-80 has been adopted by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you.
Next, we have resolution 2023-12, expressing support for Summit County Developmental Disabilities Board on issue 17 and providing for immediate enactment. This is a resolution that's before us, and it would be nice if we could get this adopted as soon as possible. Is there any discussion on this item?
Mrs. Kilway,
Yes, Mr. Lowry?
I move to adopt, but then as we spoke earlier, I had a conversation with Mrs. Raber. Even though there's only four of us, the significance is the vote,
Yes.
not when a resolution becomes effective.
Correct, you're correct on that. Thank you. So we do have a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mrs. Kilway,
Yes?
I was very impressed when I heard about the length of time that they made those levies last and the good stewardship. And Also, it was a great awareness just to hear the number of our residents that are impacted by Summit DD.
Oh, yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, and, you know, it says right in the ordinance that there's 30% more children and adults than in 2007 that are using this, and they've still been able to make this funding work for them, so, yes, I would agree. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Burton, please call the roll.
Adam Bozick,
Yes.
Carol Kilway,
Yes.
Dennis Lowry,
Yes.
Jonathan Bullitt,
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 2023-12 has been adopted by a vote of 4-0. Anything else to come to Community Issues Committee at this time? Hearing none, I will close committee.
Thank you, Mrs. Kilway. Public service, it falls on me. We have no legislation, but I'll open the Public Service Committee. Is there anything to come before Public Service? Again, I'd just like to recognize Mr. Rohr and the department and the vendors that handled West Avenue the way they did. You know, that could have been, that could have not have been that good.
We could have got out of
Yeah,
line.
so it worked out perfectly. So thank you again very much. Is there anything else for public service?
Mr. Chair, I happen to be driving right at the West Avenue, the road at the top of the hill.
Britton?
Britton,
Yeah.
thank you. Britton and West, this should not be happening, but Britton and West Avenue, and I noticed a bunch of the road closed signs. And I think right next to it, it looked like maybe somebody threw like a bunch of trash there on the corner. So I don't think it's from the crews, but it looked like maybe somebody just thought it was a trash pile and dumped something there. So
Take a look at it.
something to look at. So thank you.
Anything else? Closed committee. Item 11, reports to special committees. I have nothing. Mr. Bowles, you have anything?
No, not this evening.
Thank you. 12, announcements. We will be meeting on Wednesday, the 25th, as opposed to Thursday, the 26th, because Thursday is our Halloween. So make sure you have your calendars marked for the Wednesday meeting and not show up here Thursday in your Halloween costume. Okay. Mr. Bozick.
I don't know if we need a motion to pass this, but is it possible we attend in Halloween costumes for that Wednesday's meeting? So-
Some think I'm in a costume anyway. So, thank you. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Ms. Kilway,
Second.
Mr. Bozick, Mrs. Burton, please call the roll.
Jonathan Bullitt,
Yes.
Adam Bozick,
Yes.
Carol Kilway,
Yes.
Dennis Lowry.
Yes. It is 8:08. We are adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.